And we are now heading towards the end of the session. I see Szabolcs, Gabriella Kish, and Mátyás Fusz. Eccoci. Thank you very much. They are there, and we spoke about words. We spoke about a lot of issues, maybe too many issues, but they were quite full morning. But we started from the idea of the lab, and here we have another testimony of another kind of lab, because within the framework of U4 Differences, each partner developed its own interpretation of the word lab. So what we will hear now from the voices of these three colleagues in Budapest will be their take, their interpretation, and their practice regarding an artistic research lab. The title of the presentation is Metaphor and/or Practice, Presentation of the Research Lab Pilot Program. And let me introduce the three speakers. Mátyás, is a right? Mátyás Fusz is a visual artist, assistant professor at the Department of Artistic Anatomy, Drawing and Geometry at the Hungarian University of Fine Arts, and he's a member of the HUFA lab team. And then there up right, you see Gabriella Kish, that lives in Budapest, Hungary, and her practice-based research focuses on participatory and community-based art in urban public space, questions of audience participation, and the community and participatory theater. She completed her doctoral degree in 2019, and she's currently an assistant professor at the scenography department at the HUFA Budapest. And just behind me is Szabolcs, who lives in Budapest, Hungary, and his main fields of interest is the intersection of new media, visual arts, and social issues. He taught and held master's classes in several universities, Slovakia, Germany, and France, and he's currently an associate professor and head of the intermediate department at the Hungarian University of Fine Arts, Budapest. His works were presented, among others, at the Venice Biennale, ISCP, and Apex Art New York, Stedelijk Museum, Seoul International Media Art Biennale, and other venues. Between 2012 and 2015, he has been actively involved in various activist projects. So it's a pleasure for me to leave the floor to these three colleagues and hear from their voices the testimony of their lab. Please.
Thank you very much, Franco. I wonder if my sound is to be heard properly in the space.
Sound is very good. You're a bit backlit, but we see you and the sound is excellent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, and welcome everybody, and I'm happy to be here with you today together with my two esteemed colleagues from Budapest, and with this detailed introduction by Franco. We're going to speak a bit about our endeavor in establishing the Budapest version of these labs. And as it became clear from the introduction, this lab was a kind of concept that has been part of the standard, the EU for Art, and its component, the differences, the H 2020 tender. And actually we've been together with my colleagues, we started working on the concept of these labs a bit more than 1 year ago, maybe last in spring 2022. And so we split our presentation in three parts. In the very first one, I'm going to share with you some of my thoughts, some of our thoughts, and some of my personal skepticism. in regard to artistic research in a larger context, mostly regarding its epistemological and socio-political kind of context. And then we are going to go a bit deeper, and we're going to try to describe to you how exactly we imagined this lab, and why did we imagine it in that way, and how we interpreted the concept of lab. And we're going to show you a few examples with the help of my colleagues Gabriella and Mátyás. So just to share you a bit my thoughts on what did I feel when I was commissioned actually to join this team and to start working on this concept of an artistic lab, right? I must admit that I felt uncomfortable, because I felt that there is some sort of misunderstanding here. As even though I've been following very closely the almost 30 years long debate on on the status of artistic research and on its position within the let's say within the general so-called knowledge production environment, which I find a relatively problematic concept as well. Nonetheless, my uncomfortable feelings were practically coming from the fact that if I took a kind of wider look of what we are part of, I had to realize that basically the endeavor of the European Union to involve and to some extent, I must add, to instrumentalize the research in general of the universities, it is part of a larger kind of economic, ideological sort of perspective, in which let's say the ultimate aim of which would be the enhancement of the competitivity of the European economy. And this is a kind of concept that has been articulated in, and it is being articulated in quite many European documents. So that is somehow the larger scheme in which all these tenders and European projects, funding projects are being implemented. And so if you take this look, you can pretty much understand that, yes, that's needed. I mean, within the universities, there is a very important and very precious kind of research activity that can go on. But then again, you have the field of arts, which somehow got in a way into this game, without being really able to offer any, let's say, practical sort of good for this whole idea of promoting and helping through the research and development the European economy. Because I think it must be obvious for any of you that the arts cannot really offer this service, to put it like that. So then we had quite many discussions with my colleagues, and we had very, very good discussions in which I shared my skepticism, and then we were trying to kind of find a possible concept within which we can still imagine this lab. And that's the reason that we actually named it, or like our kind of headline or title for this whole research was whether we consider the lab a metaphor or we consider it a practice, because there is a long tradition of appropriating to some extent the concept of lab. Within the art field, you can call lab your own studio, or the studio of the university where you work with the artist, and you just name it a lab. And actually, it could be a valid approach if you take it as a metaphor. But then we were thinking how we can convert it into a practical thing. And given these kind of political and ideological sort of aspects of the whole issue, we came to the conclusion that we have to formulate and articulate some priorities, some basic thoughts. One of which is basically that we consider the artistic research an activity which is by definition a collective activity. So our endeavor was aiming at bringing together a collective. It is also important that within the art fields, the various directions of research can cover a very, very wide range. So therefore, we didn't want to frame the work of the lab around certain topics. We rather chosen to kind of focus on methodologies. And therefore, we wanted to speak about these methodologies. So they, with the students, with our fellow teachers, with the students of different levels, from doctoral school to doctoral students to MA students, and even teachers who are involved in various aspects of the research. So what we really wanted to make is we try to establish a kind of discursive and narrative space within which the various levels of research and the various researchers can come together, they can share knowledge, and first of all, they can imagine a specific way of collaboration which is sustainable and which makes sense and which is not frustrated by the epistemological expectations towards the artistic, the practice-based research. So I would hang it up here, and please take it as a bit of skeptical introduction. Maybe later on we can develop some of the details of it. Nonetheless, at this point, maybe I would give the word to Gabriella, who's going to tell you a bit more about how this lab developed from the pilot project on, and then also Mátyás will speak about how the lab itself was structured, and then we might interfere, each of us, into this discourse. So Gabriella, please.
Thank you, Szabolcs. I'm now sharing my screen, and at the first phase, I would like to talk about our first step. And as Szabolcs mentioned, within the framework of the EU for Art of Differences project, one of our tasks was to create an artistic research and innovation lab. We spent a lot of time thinking about how could we represent the research process. And you can see on this board a phase of our methodological thinking process. And as for methodology of the pilot project, which was the first step of our lab, we decided to use the metaphor of travel. And our objective was to create in this event kind of micro communities and some space in both the physical and intellectual sense that would allow students involved in the research, as Szabolcs mentioned, undergraduate, postgraduate, and doctoral levels. And we would like to encourage some kind of communication between the students. We use, as I mentioned, this metaphor of travel, and we just defined it, the most diverse disciplines from philosophy to social sciences as a different areas on a map, as you can see on this picture. We divided different continents like art and science, art pedagogy, art sociology, and art. And we asked participants to try and mark their own path, own research path on this map. And this opened the communication about the theoretical elements and and details of the students that they would use the layer foundation or add to their own research. In this pilot workshop, we focused on the talking and talking about the research itself in the simplest possible terms. So that means we don't want to use slides or presentation, and we just relying on talking and the descriptive abilities of the students. At the first task of this pilot project, the students work in pairs. You can see on these pictures of these tables where we put little hiding parts, and the students get one maps, and they just talking about their research without that they can seeing the other map, and one of the students just drawing and writing a note of that one student's talk to his or her. In this situation, these conversational pairs, one person share with the other what they were researching and working on. And after that, we expanded these groups and making them increasingly larger. And groups of 4 were formed after that. And until we got to discussing the result of this session together. And at the end, as you can see in this picture, the workshop ended as a single group. And the participants were able to talk about their research topic in a different way, instead of giving the lecture or presentation on it. And they could engage in a very private conversation about it. And the methodological result was that by using this mapping method in these discussions, it could playful describe where the students are in the research process or what areas they were touching on and what resources they were using. And we were very curious to see what the result would emerge when 2 people discuss their research topics together. One option was they would find that they were similarities or certain overlaps, or they would conclude that they were working in completely different areas. And there were examples of both scenarios, and we were very happy about it. And we plan to make this event as the starting point for the block seminar that was be held in the spring semester of 2022 and 2023. I would like to pass the floor to Mátyás, who will continue this presentation now.
Yes, hello everyone, and Gabi will do the slides. So, as Gabi mentioned, we continued this lab program in the spring semester with a block seminar. We thought that this discursive space, or how can we create this this lab without a new infrastructural part of the school. We have a doctoral school, so we imagined that a course, a block seminar in the spring semester will be good for continue this experiment with doctoral students and with undergraduate students. So we had this call that almost 20 students came and applied, and after a while we had I think 15 students. We had different experimental courses, methodologies during this week. some of most of them was discursive courses, but the first one, which you can see on this side, that every morning, this was the first morning of the week, Monday. Every morning, the students came to this wonderful big atelier in the Festi house of the doctoral school, and the day we tried to interrupt them, or we tried to hijack the whole artistic research course like space with this quite traditional exam or test that they had to observe this arrangement from two models, like in a traditional drawing class, but without any drawing. They just had to sit there or walk around this arrangement for 10 minutes and just observe it, memorize it, or just observe the observer. And you can see with this particular experiment that all of this block seminar, all of the courses, all of the tasks were quite metaphorical. It was a metaphor for research, for laboratory, for observing something in reality, and then observing yourself like the observer. And after that, we spoke about that during the week, and we had a lot of these kind of programs. The next one, which I will pass the microphone to Szabolcs, who will describe the next experimental program of this block seminar.
Yes, thank you, Mati. You are fully right, and thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, so the various elements, tasks, and assignments that we developed for this block seminar, they were all having a kind of metaphoric kind of reference. At the same time, as I kind of highlighted at the very beginning, in fact, we were kind of trying to find kind of new ways and new paradigms of approaching, let's say, the kind of the epistemological kind of quality or value or position of the artistic practice. And for that reason, in many cases, we relied on some artistic tradition. This is an example we wanted to speak a bit about. It's been a recurring assignment throughout the 1 week block seminar. On each day, actually, we held, let's put it bluntly, a siesta, but it wasn't kind of a plain siesta. It was a special one. It even had a name. And let me just read for you the introductory paragraph of it on the website, which we're going to share at the very end, because we have documented the whole process on specifically dedicated website. So the experimental exercise developed for the seminar and tested for the first time during our long week lab workshop aimed at establishing a connection between the various states of consciousness and creativity discussed widely in the context of educational psychology. And actually, we called this assignment hypnagogic close reading, which means we referred to hypnagogic state, which is the state in between sleep and awakeness. And for sure, if we think about the sleep, we can bring in endless art historical kind of examples, mostly from the surrealists, but even Mladen Stilimovic, or like many artists, dealt with this kind of the topic of sleeping, of being in between sleep and awakeness. Right? And so what we did here, that actually before the seminar, we asked the participants to provide us short theoretical texts. They are very much interested in this period of their research. And then we collected these texts, and then we held this half an hour siesta time each day in which they could lay down, and actually they could even fall asleep if they wanted. But in the meantime, we would one by one, the three of us, we would read out loud some excerpts from these texts, and we read each text 3 times consecutively. And I think altogether this particular experiment was quite meaningful, and it's been very popular among the students. And for sure, at the end of the block seminar, we discussed the experiences and impressions they had. And there is a totally different way of interpreting various texts. For sure, we called it a close reading, hypnagogic close reading. And with this, we just wanted to highlight the possibility of occasionally developing, for the sake of artistic research, to develop certain methodological tools which, let's say, are fully out of common, are fully, they are not, let's say, academically accepted ways of approaching either text or production of images and so on. And so there were also other assignments, which I guess the next one will be presented by Gabi. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Szabolcs. So on the third afternoon of the block seminar, the art fine dining assignment was given. The intended output of this assignment was to create 1 or more sandwiches using the available ingredients, which were chosen to represent the diversity and proportions of the theoretical resources and through the students' artistic research process. So you can see different groups like art pedagogy, art sociology, and art science. And we, as the course leaders, prepared the food materials on a long table and put these categories on there. And in the first stage, the participants, the students were invited to create a sandwich recipe based on the materials provided, and matching each element to their research and defining their proportions accordingly. And once the recipe was completed, students started creating their own sandwiches. In addition, everyone had an opportunity to add their individually selected spices to the existing oh, sorry, this is my cat, sorry for that. As an analogy of the uniqueness of each and every individual research project. And from the beginning, the students set out to discover the various possible relationships between the 4 established categories, and merged the ingredients of each category into a specific combination. And the exercise concluded with a culinary guided tour where the sandwiches were placed in a matrix of the 4 categories and introduced by the students, the makers, and discussed collectively in reference the individual research specificities. That was the discussion. And the next, Mátyás could continue with this next assignment, please.
Yes, thank you, Gabi. So you could have a taste of this block seminar, as I can say, with this fine art dining and hypnagogic siesta, because we had more of these tasks, sorry, but we have this short time to present ourselves or this blog seminar. So the last one is it's called Taboo, and it was the main discussion between it was not just one day, one afternoon, but it continued. We had this board with all the questions. They had an opportunity, the students, to ask anything about artistic research, about the institute, about art, or about studying or teaching art. We had this quite of deep drilling through these questions about their biggest fears and hopes, and ours also. So this was, I think, very good for. It was some of the most precious things for us teachers, I think, because we can we could experiment with this lab with the students, and they could experiment with artistic research, and we can talk together in these questions and answers. Maybe we have answers or not for all of these present problems of our institution, about artistic research, about art in Hungary or worldwide, and about future of this. All of this, about all of these topics and fields. So as Szabolcs started quite skeptical, I would like to finish a bit more optimistic, that now at the end of the program, this afternoon, we will have a discussion with the students. We will have a reunion of this blog seminar, and we will try to discuss the future of this lab program without all of this framework. We will like to introduce an open call for the next semester for the students to research within the framework of this lab. We will have more workshops in the doctoral school dedicated to this kind of methodology of dealing with artistic research, and I think we will develop our web page also. We will have more of these workshops and open calls, and students who are dealing with artistic research in the University of Fine Arts here in Hungary. So I really like to thank all of your attention and check out our website for future projects. And you can contact us, all the three of us, about. You can read more about each task and this blog seminar on the web page. So thank you for your attention.